Ready to go, guys? Yep. All right. Good evening, everybody. I want to thank everyone for being here tonight. I understand we have about 25 folks on our virtual pre-construction meeting call. Thanks for everybody who put time into making this happen, and thanks for everyone who's interested in what is going to happen and learning more about it. It's a privilege to serve you all. And I'll turn the meeting over to Tanya Elliott Moore, who's going to guide us through the agenda tonight.
Thank you, Mayor O'Brien, and I'd like to say welcome to everyone. Tonight's meeting is a pre-construction meeting for residents who will be directly impacted by the construction of two stormwater projects, the Butler project and the Bessie project. The purpose of this meeting is to not redesign or change what's already been approved, but rather our goal is to prepare you for the start of construction, which we anticipate will begin the week of September 1st. Both projects are funded through the Hazard Mitigation Grant Program. The plans have already been reviewed and approved by all required state agencies, and we'll be moving forward with construction as approved. For residents, please know that impacts will be addressed on a like-for-like basis, as is typical with this type of project. This includes items such as driveway aprons, landscaping, mulch, and mailbox removal and reinstalling. I'd like to introduce Mr. Frank Chase, who will serve as the project manager for both projects. Frank will be your point of contact and will work closely with the residents throughout the construction process. He's taking a short break this week and is on vacation with his family, but he is actually on the call this evening. So that's dedication. Thank you, Frank. Here's how the meeting will flow tonight. We will first review the Butler project, then we'll review the Bessie project. Once we've gone through both presentations, we will open up the floor to questions from residents. We also have with us tonight the engineers of record for Kimley Horn. That's Mr. Hao Chow, Victor Gallo, and Chris Davidson, who will provide an overview of the project segments. At each segment slide, Vishan Lutchman, who is the project manager with Valencia Construction, will review the construction methodology and anticipated duration of each segment. With that, let's begin with the Butler project. And also, John and I are here this evening because if you have questions, we'll be here to help answer those as well. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Hal. Please present your Butler project, Hal.
Sure. Thanks, Tana. Did you want to run the slides or did you want me to grab the screen? I'm good either way.
No, I'm going right now. I'm moving.
Okay, so we can get started. Well, thanks everybody for calling in. As Tanya mentioned, we've been working on these plans and they've been approved for Butler from 6th Avenue to Fernwood Park. So we have met with Valencia Construction as well as the town staff. And this is a pre-construction meeting just to let you know all know what to expect over the next several months. So for each of these corridors, we're going to split it up into segments, so that you can kind of look per segment along where it may impact your residents. So for segment 1 for the Butler project is from 6th Avenue to Fernwood Park. So on the right-hand side, you can see a screenshot of the plan view up top, and then a profile view as you go on the lower right. There's also a typical section on the lower left. So in this area, we are regrading the dirt road, generally maintaining the existing roadway footprint to achieve a 2 to 3% cross slope along Butler Street to flow to the east. So if you look at that typical section, the lower left, you can kind of see that the east is on the left side. So what we're doing is we're grading a consistent cross slope so that we can convey the runoff to that concrete shoulder gutter that you see on the left-hand side of that typical section. That gutter will facilitate the conveyance of water to the south towards Fernwood Park. Now, we're also going to be adding some inlets and some pipes to collect the water within that shoulder gutter, also on the east side of the road or the top side of that plan view drawing that you see. We're also going to be grading sodding adjacent to the road for harmonization. And towards the end of Butler from this area near Fernwood Park, you'll see us providing some swales to collect the additional water from these drainage structures and to provide it in a rain garden in Fernwood Park. So we'll move on to the next segment. So this is actually, before we move on to the next segment, we just wanted to provide you with what it looks like today, which you know, and also provide you with impacts that are part of the construction of this project. Now, these impacts have been minimized to the extent feasible throughout the design process, and we've been coordinating with town staff, town council meetings and everything to make sure that we really do minimize these impacts. So the impacts in general are, there's going to be some driveway harmonization to meet the new elevations of the road. And like Tanya mentioned, it's going to be like for like material replacements within your driveways, and then minor landscaping impacts as well along the way. But there are no major tree impacts within this section. So with that, I think I'm going to turn over to Vashon to talk about the construction methodology and duration of the segment. Vashon represents Valencia Construction, who will be the contractor for the job.
Thank you all for letting me join this meeting. I'm Vashon with Valencia Construction. To talk about these segments are going to seem a little bit repetitive, but I do want you all to know that we did put thought into the process of working this job to minimize impacts to the residents and to the flow of traffic through the town. Specifically, starting here with segment 1, we're going to be closing between intersections and allowing local traffic to flow through it during the construction process for each of the segments. But specifically for segment 1 here, we were going to close basically, as I mentioned, between intersections and install the drainage piping, which will actually create the most amount of impact to the surrounding area. Each day we'll install piping structures, backfill, and reinstate the road and the surrounding area to a drivable condition, so residents and town services can easily operate and move through the work zones at the end of each day. After the drainage piping has been installed and the system is starting to be connected, we will excavate, grade out swales in the right-of-ways at the affected area, and then proceed to dress the road with its finishing base work material, which is a shell application that's going to be put there. Our intent with each of the segments is to minimize the amount of impact time to the residents in a general sense of it. We will be going back and forth between different segments as we install storm structures and piping. But in this specific segment here, after it's installed and the concrete curbing is poured, we're going to sod the shoulders, restore any driveways that need to be restored that have been impacted, and then reopen the road for regular typical usage with a finished product already installed. So we would not be coming back into the segments after we finish them. I have a construction duration for the first segment of approximately 2 months. Doesn't mean it's going to be 2 months of consecutive work. It would be 2 months between the applications of installing the piping and then finishing with the curbing and the sodding. Some of these items would take place at different time periods, but not before completing one segment would we really start on a next major segment. So I'll turn it back over to you guys for the next slide.
Thank you, Vashon. And now we'll move on to the next segment for the Butler project. So segment 2 is Fernwood Park, which is shown in the screen to your right. And then also we have a detail of the rain garden shown in your lower left. So in this area, we're going to be doing dirt regrading around Fernwood Park turnaround. That's the area that you see kind of cross-hatched with the loop roadway in there. So that's going to be dirt road regrading to provide for positive drainage flow towards that rain garden. We're going to excavate for a drainage pond and rain garden in the lower left corner to be able to provide some attenuation and treatment before it discharges into the lake. And then also looking at the concrete boat ramp, we're going to do a concrete reconstruction of the ramp to maintain slopes flowing towards the pond. And in that area, you can see that we also have some crushed gravel as well. And then I mentioned before that towards the end of the segment 1, that we're going to be grading some swales, which you kind of see in the upper left-hand corner of the plan view. And those swales will go into ditch bottom inlets that will discharge into the rain garden as well. And then, so this is the plan for the improvements within Fernwood Park to provide for the stormwater conveyance and attenuation and treatment from Butler Street and from 7th Avenue. Next slide. So here are some pictures of Fernwood Park, actually looking at Fernwood Park and then the control structure along Butler just across from Fernwood Park. So the impacts are going to be removal of the existing drainage pipe and inlet system. So we're going to remove that structure that you see there and have a more of an at-grade structure for the ditch bottom inlet. There are no tree impacts through this area. And Bashan, if you could just briefly go over the construction methodology and the duration for this portion as well, I'd appreciate it.
Absolutely. So we intend to close Fernwood Park during this construction period, which we're going to heavily coordinate with the town. So schedules are understood when this segment's going to happen. We will have to remove the existing drainage that is shown on the screen here and some associated piping with it. Our intention is to construct the downstream portion of the rain garden, or the lowest basin where the water is going to collect. We do understand how valuable the water, the lakes are, not the water, how valuable the lakes are to the town and in general. So we'll be installing specific erosion control measures to mitigate any potential water from discharging off of the construction site while we're working. One of the unique things about Fernwood Park here is obviously there is a boat ramp that we're going to be extending the concrete slab. So it comes further out and ties on to the new gravel surface that we're going to be installing at the end of this segment. During that construction period, we anticipate the boat ramp itself will be closed for a period of time, probably about 7 days, to allow the concrete to cure, at which point this part of the project, this segment, would be reopened to the public, and we would not re-enter Fernwood Park until we go to do the final plantings in the rain garden there, which would be somewhere towards the end of the project. Once again, the actual construction timing is about 4 weeks total. The majority of this time would be spent installing the drainage piping, grading the new gravel structure, and then extending the boat ramp. At which time, as I mentioned, we'll reopen it to the public or reopen it to the town's usage, and return at the very end for final sodding and the plantings that are going to be in the rain garden.
Thank you, Vishan. And so this will be segment 3, which is the final segment as part of the Butler project. So this is from, it's on 7th Avenue. It's from Fernwood Park to Old Main Street. And it's, in a lot of ways, it's similar to what we are doing over on Butler, from 6th to 7th. So we're going to do dirt road regrading within the existing footprint to achieve that 2% cross slope and allow the flow to the north. So you can see those 2 drawings up there. And one is a plan view. And so we are pitching the road so that everything drains to the north, and we're going to be providing some swales in that area. And then we show some profile views as well. Generally, the elevation drops from Old Main Street over to west and then over to Fernwood Park. There's going to be a short section of concrete shoulder gutter starting at about Forest Avenue and west of that, in order to collect that runoff and then pipe it to the proposed swale. And then it's also going to be some adjacent sodding for the roadway. So as we go through and we regrade the roadway, we're also going to do some sodding for harmonization of those slopes. And then the swale on the north side, basically, it's actually east of Forest Street and then some west of Forest Street as well. We'll collect additional water before piping it to Fernwood Park Rain Garden. So all this is meant to collect the runoff from this area of the road and transport it to the west and eventually to the south into Fernwood Park. And then this is a look along 7th Avenue. The impacts are going to be removal of the existing drainage pipe and inlet system that we showed in the previous photo. We're going to have to harmonize driveways as we regrade, making matching material like and like. As far as tree impacts, there is an existing 6-inch camphor tree to be removed on the south side of 7th Avenue between Fernwood Park and Forest. We did coordinate that removal during the design process for that camphor. Other than that, there are no other tree impacts along this segment as well. And Vishan, one more time on the construction methodology and duration.
Absolutely. For this segment here, as I mentioned in the other previous segments, we're going to be closing between intersections, so we're not impacting the entire segment at one time. This specific segment does have a tree that's going to be removed, which it's going to be flagged and tagged just for verification with the town to make sure that we're all in agreement it's the correct tree. At that point, we're going to actually fell the tree, remove the structures that are in the existing roadway and that are in the swales that are there and install the new drainage piping. At that point, we're actually going to construct the swale, so we'll have a fully flowing functional drainage system with swales that will accommodate the regraded road profile. We will be installing the concrete curbs that will drain towards that new swale and the new gutter lines. We'll address the finished product of the new graded roadway and then reopen this segment to traffic. This is another 2-month anticipated time from beginning to end. As I mentioned, we're going to be splitting the segment into two to minimize the amount of actual impacts to the throughput of the lanes itself. And after about 2 months of total work and the duration on both sides of this intersection here, we will have fully graded, fully sodded swales and a pretty much functional drainage system.
Thank you. And
No,
I think so we're going to
yeah.
hold on questions, Tanya, until
Yes.
we finish both
Yes.
projects, right?
We are. We're going to hold on questions and we're going to move forward to the Bessie project. But what I also wanted to let everyone know that's on the phone call is that it's been a long time since we've been back to talk to you about these two projects. And what I want to make clear this evening is nothing has changed in the plans for either project that you have seen. What the delay was is that once we take the plans to 90% and get all of that approved by town council and 100%, then we send that off to the state. The state agencies then all have to review everything, concur, come back to us with comments. We answer those comments. So the process takes a while. And then then we get approval to go out to bid. We do that process. So nothing has changed since you saw this the last time. However, it's just been a long duration because there is a huge process that goes into it before we get the green light to turn dirt. So with that, I'm going to move on to the Bessie drainage project, and I will again turn it over to Hal.
Thank you. And for Bessie, it is a larger project with a bigger project area and more streets that we're working on. So we're actually going to divide it up into 6 segments. So I'll go through each of them individually, and the work we're doing throughout is relatively similar, but I will go through and highlight each segment. As you see there are 6 segments. For segment 1, 9th from Main Street to East. Segment 2, Oakdale Street, north and south of 9th. Segment 3 along East Boulevard along the lake from 9th to 8th. And the segment 4 running west to east, 8th Avenue and Magnolia Street. And then segment 5, 8th Avenue and Bessie Street as it goes around the curve to 7th. And then segment 6 is actually for a different area. It's for 3rd and Magnolia area over from Oakdale to Lake Street Park. But that was part of the HMGP grant, so it's all part of one project, but it'll be north of those improvements on 9th and 8th. So for the first segment, you're looking at 9th Avenue from Main Street to East Boulevard. So for this one, we are also regrading the dirt road to provide a consistent 2% cross slope along 9th to flow along the north side between Main Street and Oakdale. There's actually going to be some swales on both sides until you get past Oakdale. And then we're looking at dirt road regrading 2% cross slope to the south between Oakdale and East Boulevard. So the plan view details the swales, and it will be on the north and or the south side. So those are the V swales that you see on the screen there. An example of the V swale is on your upper right, where the swale forms a V shape in order to provide storage and conveyance for the roadway runoff. In certain areas, as we develop these swales, we provide drainage inlets and pipes to be able to basically move water from one swale to the next, and eventually to the rain garden that you see in the lower left-hand corner at the corner of 9th and East Boulevard. Throughout this area, as we go through and as we harmonize the roadway slopes, we're also going to provide sodded areas roughly 3 feet in width, and we're using the shell base for paved material for that realignment, and we're going to realign 9th Avenue East Boulevard for a T intersection. This intersection was a safety concern during design, so we're going to make it a T intersection with a stop condition, so that way it's a safer movement for everybody coming north, south, and west as well. Next slide. So this is looking at the impacts for this area. This is looking down East 9th Avenue towards the lake, so you're looking east. So I talked about the driveway harmonization. As we regrade the dirt road to provide that cross slope and smooth out the vertical profile, we are going to harmonize the driveways along the way, and we're going to match the existing materials for your driveways along the way as well. The tree impacts, there's existing trees at the northeast corner of 9th and Oakdale. Those were smaller trees that will be eventually replaced with live oaks as well. Vishal on the construction methodology.
Thank you. Yeah, for this specific segment here, we're going to be working on constructing the rain garden, the downstream portion of the rain garden, first to provide containment for the newly installed piping and drainage structures. As shown on the previous slide there, this conveyance system flows down towards the lake. So our first intention is to provide positive erosion control methods for the newly installed piping and drainage system. After we install the piping, we're going to move towards finishing the swales and sodding that, thereby providing actual drainage conditions that would flow in the event of a heavy storm. After we complete that segment and you have a fully functioning drainage system, we're going to be excavating the roadway, putting back new base material, and finish grading it to the new cross slopes. At that point, we'll sod the shoulders. The swales will have already been sodded, and the rain garden will already have some sort of protection, whether it's sod or the actual planting material inside of it. So this segment, when open, would not need to be revisited again, and the drainage system would be working as is end. I do have approximately 3 weeks for this smaller segment.
Thank you. So for segment 2, we're actually going to be looking along Oakdale Street, both north and south of 9th Avenue. So in the plan view that you see on the screen, north is going to be to your right. So Oakdale is running left to right on the screen, and then 9th Avenue is running up and down on the screen. So as you can see from the profile view, everything generally flows from north to south. So we're going to be doing dirt road regrading as well to provide those cross slopes in order to drain them towards the swales, as you see there. The project limits are approximately 200 feet south of 9th and 300 feet north of 9th for the work along Oakdale. And so with that, we're going to be doing some grading as well, as I mentioned on previous ones, for harmonization. And then there's going to be a linear swale. You can see the linear swale on the west side of Oakdale, north of 9th Avenue. And then you can see also a swale in the southeast corner, which is kind of on the bottom and towards the right of the plan view. So we're going to be grading swales to capture that runoff as it flows from the cross slopes into the swales. So this is a picture of the way it currently looks. So the driveway harmonization to meet new elevations is something I've talked about throughout. As we regrade this, we are going to harmonize your driveways and match the existing material of your driveways. I would like to mention and also to stress that we are not impacting the recently installed concrete diverter. That concrete diverter was placed with the plans for doing this construction after. So the diverter will not be impacted with this construction. And also there will be no tree impacts along this run of the segment of road. So with that, Vishal, a little bit on the construction methodology and duration.
Thank you. Yes, for this specific one, we will be once again closing the road between the intersection, or between the north-south intersection, to basically develop and excavate out the existing roadway and place it on its new grade with its correct cross slope. But before we actually build the road in this segment, we're going to go ahead and construct and sod those swales that are going to accommodate the runoff from the newly profiled road. This would allow for construction to take place and drainage to actually flow into the intended swale, as opposed to constructing the road first, which will have the longest duration impact is the road construction. By allowing us to do the swales first in this area, any water generated from the newly constructed road would flow to its intended final destination or side of the road. This specific segment here, we have a 3-week duration that would include sodding the swale, the shoulders, as well as constructing the roadway. And since there's no other piping or anything else in this area, we would not have to return and do any further construction.
Thank you. So now we're gonna look at segment 3, East Boulevard running along the lake from 9th Avenue to 8th Avenue. So that's the section that's gonna be running south to north adjacent to the lake. So as you can see, we're gonna be grading the dirt road so that it's 2% to the east. And we're gonna provide a swale on the east side to collect the runoff before it discharges into the lake. So you can see the swale on the right-hand side, and we slope the road, match the existing width to flow into that swell. And then once we get towards the north end, where we have another rain garden, which we'll show you in a different slide, we are going to provide inlets and pipes to convey the runoff from the swell to the rain garden. And as we go through this area, we're also going to be harmonizing and sodding adjacent to the dirt road, a 3-foot to 6-foot sodded area. And there's going to be a new weir and concrete ditch pavement to control the flow over to Lake Bessie, but it's going to hold that water and treat it before it gets into the lake, which is the purpose of the swales. So this is an image looking north. So East Boulevard is on the left, the lake is on the right. There's no impacts to existing driveways on the west side of East Boulevard, so we're holding that western elevation the same to not impact any driveways on the west side. We are impacting those pine trees on the east side, and that was coordinated during the design. They'll be removed and replanted at different locations, and where you see those pine trees are where the new swale is going to be excavated to both convey the water and treat the water before it goes into the lake. With that, Vajan, a little bit on construction methodology and duration.
Thank you. Yes. So for this specific segment here, since it is so close to the lake, we're going to be removing those trees at the very onset of the project and proceeding to construct the downstream swales. And those would be the swales closest to the lake itself. Once again, we're doing this in an attempt to provide a storage method for any runoff coming off of the roadway and allowing treatment inside of the swales as designed before it ultimately discharges into the lake. This specific segment here does have the rain garden with a concrete weir. So we'll be constructing the rain garden, pouring the concrete weir to allow for actual controlled discharge of any water that does come off the construction site or just comes off as part of the project after the work is done. We'll be excavating down to the new finished grade of the roadway, constructing that to the new cross slope, and then plotting the shoulders. We anticipate a 4-week duration during this specific segment here, and we'll be coordinating heavily with the town on which area we close first. We're going to kind of split this segment into 2 pieces.
And another important note before we move to the next slide is that we'll be coordinating any tree replacements with the tree board. The tree board will be determining where they would like replacement trees to go and what types of trees to replant with. So I just wanted to make sure we made that note as we go through.
So segment 4, we've gone through East Boulevard as you head north, and this is 8th Avenue and Magnolia Street. 8th is running left to right on your screen, and then Magnolia is running kind of north-south there. So basically everything generally flows from the west to the east towards East Boulevard or East Avenue. So what's being constructed is also a 2% cross slope along the area in order to control the stormwater conveyance as it hits the dirt road. We're going to grade the 2% slope to the north and provide a swale on the north side at 8th Avenue and the northeast corner of Magnolia Street, right there at the intersection. That's kind of on the northwest corner of the drawing you see in front of you. There's going to be a new drainage inlet at the existing inlet location, so we're going to replace that inlet and that pipe. And then we're also going to provide for that sodded area next to the regraded roadway in order to provide harmonization next to the road that we're regrading. And then this is looking on 8th Avenue. I believe it's kind of looking west, I believe. And on that, there's going to be no impacts to existing driveway on 8th Avenue. So there's no driveway impacts there. And there's going to be no impacts to that existing spillway at the northwest corner. But we are looking at that inlet over there and looking at that replacement. There's going to be no tree impacts as well. So there are no tree impacts for this area. So with that, Vashon, a little bit on the construction methodology.
Thank you again. For this specific one, since there is an existing drainage structure there that facilitates stormwater conveyance, we're actually going to start by removing and replacing the existing drainage structure and adding in the new piping and the new drainage structure. So we would go into a process of constructing the swales that are actually going to facilitate the discharge coming off of the new roadway. Unlike the other areas, this drainage system's already in place and fully functioning. So a lot of attention has been put into making sure that any rain events that happen during this construction period, there's a way for water to move through without it running on top of the roadway. After the drainage is installed and the swales constructed and sodded, there'll be a fully functioning drainage system in place. And we would then proceed to excavate and place the new roadway material, properly grading it to give it the cross slope that's needed to allow that to drain into the swale, which ultimately goes to the existing drainage system. We do show a 6-week duration on this segment, and we would be once again breaking up the intersection into two-piece closure essentially to facilitate traffic around it and some sort of managed traffic control pattern.
Okay, so now we're going to move on to segment 5. So we are back onto 8th Avenue and Bessie Street from East Boulevard to 7th. So kind of where Bessie kind of makes its way to the east and then curves around to the north. So in your lower left screen, you'll see where East Boulevard kind of curves over to 8th. And then on the right-hand screen, 8th curves over and becomes Bessie as you go around the curve to the north. So here we're also going to be regrading the dirt road for a 2% cross slope along 8th Avenue and Bessie Street. The flow is actually going to be to the south, which is towards Lake Bessie. However, we are providing a new curb and gutter system to capture that runoff before it goes into the lake. So along that curb and gutter system that you'll see on the south side, and as you see around the curve, kind of on the south and then the east side, we're going to collect that into curb inlets, and then we are going to pipe it to that rain garden that you see in the corner right there of the drawing. So we're going to be doing that as a rain garden over there. There's an existing kind of stormwater there, but we're going to regrade that to meet current criteria and provide a rain garden planting for that as well. Similar to all the other projects, we're going to do 3 foot of sodding in areas for harmonization, and we're using the same shell baver paste material, which is just a soil mixture for that for the areas throughout all the projects. We're using the shell base for pavers material throughout, inclusive of this area right here. And then this is looking on East 8th Avenue, looking east. You can see the lake on the south side, which is the right, and then you can kind of see where 8th curves into Bessie. We're going to do driveway harmonization on the north side, and then on the east and west side as you make the return, make the curve around the return. And then we're going to also be replacing material for like when we do that driveway harmonization. There are some minor tree impacts through this area, but those have been coordinated with the town and they're going to be replaced at different locations. So with that, Vashon?
Thank you. Yes, for this specific segment, it does contain a rain garden or at least a downstream treatment point for stormwater. So we're going to start by regrading and shaping the future rain garden to accommodate the newly installed piping that's going to be installed in the future swale areas. We're going to do a method of installing and removing piping at the same time, so we still have a functioning system that's flowing properly in the event of a major rainstorm. After the piping is installed, we will cut the swales in and sod those, so the drainage system would be functioning and working as intended. At that point, we would excavate out the existing material and replace it with the new shell base for the roadway and grade it to match the profile as needed. Sodding would be done on the shoulders to restore, and any driveways would be matched back with the existing material that's there. Lastly, any impacts in the rain garden would be addressed due to any discharge from water from the new storm system, and that rain garden would get its plantings and treatment. This segment is a little bit larger with a lot of piping and swaling going in, so we have an approximate 8-week duration. And after the end of the 8 weeks, we will have a fully functioning drainage system and would not have to re-enter that area.
Thank you. And so now we're gonna go to the north on 3rd Avenue. And this is from Oakdale Street to the Lake Street Park. 3rd Avenue runs left to right or west to east on your screen, and you can see Oakdale Street, Magnolia Street running north-south or up and down on the street. You'll also see our typical section for 3rd Avenue where we regrade the swales to provide a crown section of 2% in each direction. And then we provide swales on both sides in order to capture that runoff from Oakdale over to Magnolia to the lake. We're also going to be sodding around 3 foot as we go through this area for harmonization adjacent to our dirt road regrading. And then you can see we have those linear swales on both sides, both in plan view and the typical section, to hold that runoff and to convey it. And then as we go from one swale to the other, and as we go into towards the spreader swale over at the Lake Street Park, we have drainage inlets and pipes that convey the runoff from one swale to the next as you go from west to east. And there's a small retention area on the right. This is, the next slide is gonna be a picture of 3rd Avenue looking towards the lake. And then over here, we're gonna do the driveway harmonization as well to meet the new elevations of the road. And we're gonna be replacing driveway material of like for like kind as we go through and we harmonize the driveways to meet the road grades as we grade for that 2% normal crown cross slope. Tree impacts, there's gonna be minor tree removal that was coordinated during design, and that's gonna be replaced at different locations through coordination with the town. And so with that, construction methodology, Vishal?
Thank you again. For this one, we'll be breaking this into a 2-phase closure segment, starting at the point closest to the lake itself, constructing the downstream swale or retention area. We'll be doing our piping coming from the lake going upstream. We will be installing the piping and constructing the swales at the same time in this specific segment. That allows any water coming from upstream to actually make its way into the new conveyance system, but also allow it to be treated at the downstream rain garden before discharging into the lake ultimately. With this specific segment, the crown is it's not a consistent 2% across the entire, it's a crown system. So we'll be building the segment of the road a little bit slower in order to achieve the 2% on each side of the crown, basically allowing it to go into the correct swale and not just make its way from one side to the other. As I mentioned, we'll be breaking this into 2 closures, two segment closures, and we anticipate about 3 weeks on each of the segment, which would include any restoration, sodding of the swales, as well as the shoulders and any driveway replacements to match what's already there.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Vishal. I greatly appreciate that. So that concludes the presentation portion of this evening's meeting. What we would like to do in order to maintain order is allow the Butler residents to put their hands up first and ask any questions they may have relative to the Butler portion of the project. So as you know, if you would like to ask a question, we ask that you raise your hand and we will then acknowledge you for your question. And that would be residents in the Butler side that have questions about that. I am not seeing any hands raised. Is there anyone that has any questions about the pre-con presentation we delivered on the Butler Street Stormwater Project?
We do have Anna May. Raise your hand. Anna May?
Anna May, please go ahead.
Anna May?
I think she's on mute.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, ask her to unmute. I mean,
So perhaps we could go forward to the deans, and then once Anna May is able to unmute, we can proceed with her question. But would the deans like to go ahead, please?
Hi, how are you?
Good. How are you this evening?
Good, Tanya. Did you say Dean? Because I'm on his computer.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you. A couple questions. Are you guys running water lines? Are you continuing the water line down?
So as we have noted in this project, this
Okay.
project has been underway for quite some time. And unfortunately, we had to, we funded the stormwater portion of this project, but not the water
Oh,
line
okay.
portion of this project.
Okay.
So this is simply stormwater at this
Okay.
point in time. However, what I do want to note is the town manager has been very successful and very diligent in obtaining grant funding to help with that. So he is still vigorously looking for that.
Okay. I know we have we have fiber, a lot of things in the right of way. How is that going to be handled during the construction? Would we expect any outages?
It's construction, so there's
Yeah.
always unforeseen issues. However, every contractor and the engineers in Vashon can explain this better, but we have to do what we call a Sunshine One call, and we have to get the
Mhm.
other utilities to note their underground utilities in the area. However, having done this for 25 years, somebody always forgets to flag something, or there's something there that nobody knows about. So those issues come up. But Hal, Vashon, do you have anything to add about that?
Yeah, Tanya, you're absolutely correct. During the design phase, we had those lines horizontally located, and they're shown on the plans. And then, Vashon with Vince Lindsay Construction, as part of his construction, he'll call the utilities back out to flag it again. So we'll do our best to not impact any utilities with the identification prior to construction.
Okay. If they're cut or if there is an issue, who is our go-to for that? I know when that happened down to some friends at the other end, Spectra or AT&T wasn't very responsive to them and getting them
Mr.
back
Frank
up.
Chase. Yeah.
Hey,
Mr.
Okay.
Frank
do you
Chase.
do you mind if I answer that
Sure.
call? And I
Thanks,
know
Frank.
Frank's
Yes.
on, but he's on vacation. Trust me, we've been running down West Second Avenue with things that are mismarked and everything else. We
Mhm.
got the contact list for all of the utility infrastructure.
Okay,
So
great.
when town calls, it's a lot different than when you call, Alicia.
Yeah. Well, I had one of my friends call you, Tanya, one day because she'd been like 3 days without internet. And I'm like, okay, someone else has to help you.
Yeah, but it's different when you have a big project going on. And so
Yeah.
we are very diligent. We invite them all into a pre-construction meeting.
Okay.
And then they're on the ready because they understand we're coming and they understand they have missed marks. And so,
Okay. Yeah, I get
we'll
it.
figure it out. I understand your family dynamic. Internet's important.
Yeah. Yeah, that's okay. As long as we just have a plan.
Yeah, we
Um,
do. We got it
is-
in place.
Is there any time that we should be prepared not to be able to have immediate exit or entrance from our home where maybe, hey, that day, maybe we should park up the road because it might be blocked if we just need to get out in a second or, quickly or more quick?
Yes. Yeah,
Okay.
and we're doing that. And I don't know if you've seen what's happening on West Second Avenue with I don't know
Yeah.
if you have the Windermere app or not, but what we
Yeah.
do is we do a 2-week look ahead.
Okay. Yeah.
We put it all in that, and we give people, a couple days notice. Hey, we're going to be in front of your driveway. Move your car. Do that, and I'll work with Vashon. Frank and I will do that, and
Okay.
we'll
Okay.
figure that out. for
Okay.
sure.
Okay, wonderful. I like that you guys are doing like a block at a time and just then letting us, everybody move on.
Yeah.
It's hard to tell from this plan view of the map, but from my memory, John, we have an intake on each side of our property in the right of ways.
Mhm.
Is that what you see here? It's hard to tell where our house is.
I'm sorry, you said you have a what?
Intake, like I'm not sure what you call them. We're the kind of like what's at the end of 7th or end of Forest or end of Butler and 7th.
Oh, you're talking, yeah, you're talking about a ditch bottom inlet?
I guess so.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's all getting replaced through this to make it more efficient. So, that's all getting replaced through the plans. And I
So
think,
you'll have those
yeah, if
intakes
you
and
look
then
at
that's,
what Hal, if you look at what Hal has back up on the screen, we're actually pitching the road
yeah,
differently and putting it to ditch bottom inlets with that V curb. And if you actually get a chance, drive down by Molly's house on 10th Avenue,
okay.
you'll see what we're doing. How
Oh, okay, yeah.
is that a comparable analysis to what you're doing?
Yes, it is, because we're
Yeah.
pitching the road in one direction and then we're
Yeah.
catching it with curbing, the shoulder gutter. And so,
Yeah.
yes, that is comparable.
Yeah, and I think Anna Mae, I don't know if you can hear us or you can talk, but if you drive down by 10th Avenue.
I can hear you. Yeah,
Oh, good. Awesome. Glad
finally.
you're back
Yeah,
on.
I
Glad you're
figured it
back on.
out. Yeah.
Yeah. So if you drive down by Molly and Bob's house,
Yeah.
it's almost the exact same thing. And you can see what we've done, and they're like so ecstatic what we've done down there because it
Okay.
really helped. We had a rainstorm come through tonight. They love it. So that's kind of where we're at. And it's a
Okay.
catcher's mitt for you guys.
Okay, so you're pitching it to ultimately get it to Fernwood into that rain garden,
That's the idea.
but you're not
And
laying
then-
pipe under to move it. It's gonna
Yes.
flow down the road?
So think of it as a catcher's mitt for you. It's going to collect in a gutter and shift it past your home.
Underground?
Well, underground and topical, because we're taking the top water, putting it underground, and then bringing it to the rain garden.
Okay, but you're gonna dig up the front of the yard and lay pipe to move water.
Well, what we are going to do is dig up the front of the right of way.
Yes, I know, I hear you.
And I love you, girl.
Like a sister,
So yeah, John, sorry, Lisa, it's pitched to the east, correct?
towards us.
Yes, and
Well,
then it
pitched to the
goes
west, yes.
under how it does now, but I guess a new system, and it's gonna drain into that rain garden.
Yes.
Okay, and then Leisha, you asked the question I had when I couldn't unmute myself.
Yeah.
About the water coming down. So I heard the answer to that. I have one more question. I don't know if anyone can answer this, and I don't expect you have any control over it. But a lot of my drainage issues are water table. And the lakes are very high. I mean, I'm not home right now, but when I was home a few weeks ago, and that's more of a global thing with the water management district. That what I understand is the water isn't able to flow south. Is that true?
Um, I think that's going to be on the scope of this conversation, but
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, anime, that is
Yeah.
different because
I know it is. I understand that.
because
Yeah.
groundwater flows based on elevation, right?
Yes.
And your elevation's lower.
I know. I'm in
But what we can
a
do-
true ditch. Yeah.
But what we can do is adjust the topical water.
Okay.
So
I'm
that it
hoping that
doesn't-
helps. I'm hoping that
Yeah.
helps. Yeah.
Yeah, what
Okay.
it does is it doesn't add to what you're already
Okay.
experiencing.
Yeah.
And
Because-
you and I've spent a lot of time at the
I
back of
know.
the yard.
I'm trying my house.
And I'm
Yeah.
thinking we're not going to be adding insult to injury, but there could
Perfect.
still be injury. Does that
Perfect.
make
'Cause,
sense?
I mean, I've lived in this home for 37 years, and it's only in the last two hurricanes, separated, I think, by a year, that I've had these flooding issues.
Yeah.
And so I'm hoping this, and listen, I want to say I appreciate everything that has gone into this, all the thought, all the planning. I'm just literally, I'm going with the flow with this, and, hoping that it helps out, understanding that there's a bigger problem that I don't think Windermere can even control. I just wanted to ask about it. But anyway, I'm away right now, but always looking in from afar.
Well,
And
I'm always there for you.
I know you are, and you have
You
been
and I
there
have
for me.
talked about there's
Yes.
certain things that you guys can do.
Yep,
further beyond what we're doing to protect yourself. And,
yep,
once this project gets done,
yep.
let me know. I'll come down there, and I think there's other things you can do to protect yourself beyond the measures the town's doing.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
I'm really happy that this is actually starting. Then, get that done, then go to reevaluate what else that I can do to, protect basically my foundation.
Man,
So yeah, I appreciate it. And again, my question was about the water that was answered, and, I appreciate everything everyone's doing.
Hey,
All right.
John, is this
thank-
the same contractor as Second Ave?
no.
No.
Different.
Okay, just
Yeah.
checking. Thank you.
All right.
Okay,
Anime,
so-
any more questions, Anime?
No, I'll let you know if I do down the road, but right now, I don't. My goal is just to, let the experts figure this out, and, we'll go from there. And I appreciate it.
I appreciate that, Anime. Thank you so much. All right, so
1802.
Leisha or Dean?
No,
Well, I mean-
I'm good. Thank you, guys.
All right, thank you. I'll lower your hand. All right, 1802.
So you're not putting the water in at the same time.
No, this will simply be a stormwater project. It will not include the water lines at this time. However, the town is actively attempting to pursue grant funding to do water lines.
All right, 1802. I know we had some issues
Sure.
trying to get you unmuted, but here
I
we
think
go.
we're there. Can you hear me now?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so my name's Dennis Butler. I actually live next to Anime, and the road construction, what's going on is a little bit new to me, so I got the notice and jumping on. As far as the start date, have you guys established that for the Butler Street portion?
Vishawn, are you intending to start Butler on September 1st? Or
Yes, our
sometime
intention,
around then?
yeah, our intention is to have boots on the ground, quote unquote, September 1st, starting on the Butler Fernwood segment first, working from the west of Main Street before we complete that segment, and then move to east of Main Street, where we will tackle those segments consecutively.
Okay,
So-
thank you.
Hey, Tanya, if I can make a major announcement, one of the things that we do, and I don't know if you all have downloaded the Town of Windermere app, but it's been hugely successful for West Second Avenue people. We have an overarching schedule that we do, and then we issue a 2-week look ahead every week with Lillian. And I think if people could download the app, and this isn't me selling an app or anything, but just making sure that people are aware, we do a 2-week look ahead so people know when they're coming and where we're going to be.
Got it.
Yeah.
That'd be great help.
Yes, sir. And also, we understand that, in the fall, there's a lot of different events. I mean, we're not going to impede Labor Day over at the boat ramp. And we'll make sure that we keep the boat ramp open for the boat parade.
Got it.
For
So
sure. Yeah.
in my particular circumstance, I'm actually doing a renovation or actually new construction on the property at 628. So as far as access for not only myself, but construction vehicles and services, what how do I work with that, or who can I work with to coordinate that?
I think you could work directly with me, John Fitzgibbon and Frank Chase.
Okay.
And then we'll coordinate that with Vashon. It's no different than what we're doing on West Second Avenue right now, because we have garbage, we have renovations, we have, lawn service, we have pest service, we have everything going on. So we just
Right.
coordinate that every day.
Okay.
Yeah. Our intention is to never not have local traffic have accessibility to their home. If that makes sense.
It does. I can get with you, John. I think just there may be some instances where, from a parking standpoint, I've got to coordinate more than just a narrow sliver for deliveries and that type of stuff. But I think looking at the 2-week look ahead, we can work through that.
Yeah, I think you,
and-
as you get our 2-week look ahead,
Mhm,
and you coordinate that with your deliveries, that's what
mhm.
we've been doing on West Second Avenue for the last 6 months.
Yeah, you have 3 professionals on here right now that are, part of the, not only the town, but the project manager for the contractor. So if you just let us know time what you need, because you're gonna schedule those things out way ahead of time, we could try to accommodate that as much as possible.
Yeah.
Great. And then last thing, I was just looking at the plan, and I did notice from a driveway standpoint, the current plans that I have out show it shifting to the right, right? So instead of coming straight out, it would shift a little bit to the right and help with the slope of the property. Um, as far as the new driveway gravel that you're putting back, again, could I coordinate with somebody to make sure that when we're doing this, we're aligning with your future plans and my future plans?
Yeah, and we do that all the time through our, I think, Hal used the term harmonization of driveways.
Mm-hmm.
So what we look at is where we're engaging and how far the road shifts and everything else. If you already have brick pavers, we'll do that. If you don't, usually we pour a little concrete apron to transition.
Mm-hmm.
As it gets closer, we'll figure that transition out for you.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, so we can anticipate what's already there. We can't anticipate what's not there. So if you're planning on putting something else out there for the
Mhm.
driveway apron, then you can let us know, and then we can try to cost it out to make sure, we're trying to do like kind. But if you're planning like a paver, entranceway, and there's already like a gravel entranceway, we've already costed out at that. So we'll try to work with you on what your future plans are going to be.
That's not a problem. It's really just a shift. It's like for like, but it's just shifting it to the left or right kind of thing. So it's not, I don't think it'll have a cost impact.
But just
All
so
right,
you
yes,
know,
sir.
we do control that through our right-of-way use permits.
Which is submitted.
If you have submitted,
Yes, I have.
okay. So we're usually good on that, knowing that we have future projects coming in. We look
Mhm.
at that in the way our new design is gonna be, and we'll probably get back to you on the impact and the
Okay,
potential to make sure that you're not wasting money and we're not wasting money.
got it.
Coordinate
Okay,
that with you.
thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Nancy?
Yes, good evening. A couple of questions for you. Interested that you said that the look on Old Main Street there on 10th Avenue. So when you say curbing, that's what you mean it's going to look like? It's not going to be a big hump in the road?
I want to be clear. John was referring to the Butler project being similar to 10th and Oakdale's curbing that was just done. How could you please explain? Nancy is actually on the Bessie side of the project, and I
Right.
understand from Chris, it's slightly different curb and gutter on that side. Could you explain that?
Yes, so so we're moving over to Bessie and we're done with Butler then?
Is there anyone else who has any Butler questions this evening? I do not see any house. I think we can move along to Nancy's question about Bessie.
Sure. So so for Bessie Street, are you referring to the section of 8th Avenue running east-west, that curbing? Is that what you're referring to? Where are we looking exactly on Bessie Street?
Oh, I'm not really sure, but I'm just meaning, is that the look of the curbing? Currently what's being done on Old Main Street, what I call Old Main Street between 9th and Chase Road?
Sure. So
Okay.
what's being done at Old Main Street is what's known as shoulder gutter. And so
Okay.
shoulder gutter is kind of like a concrete valley where it's just there's no face of curb or like a vertical curb. It's just like a concrete channel that conveys runoff. So when you're looking at if you're looking at Old Main at 9th and 10th, that is shoulder gutter.
Okay,
For 8th Avenue, when we're running it along the Lake Bessie, that is going to
yes,
be type F curb and gutter, which is slightly different. Type F curb and gutter has that vertical face for the curbing.
okay,
And we use that because of the proximity to the lake. So we use the type F curb and gutter. Since we were close to the lake, we wanted to provide a little bit of a vertical element to that. So if you're talking about 8th going from east to where it wraps around Bessie, that would be the type F curb and gutter that you kind of see on the outside of roadways.
okay, thank you. I'm back to the timeline now. So you're gonna start on the Butler section first, and let's say that was a 6 weeks. So it'll be 6 weeks before you start on the east side of Main Street, or are they going to be running in tandem?
I'll let Vashon expand, but if he's planning to do Butler first, if you wouldn't mind going through the Butler slides, Tanya, I think that was a couple of months for the entirety of the Butler project.
Yeah, and how, if I can interrupt, we can try to
Yeah.
work on a Gantt chart for everybody, which is a time frame.
It's a ballpark when they're something. That's all.
What the
Simple
time
question.
For sure.
and the phases as well.
But yes, if Vashon is planning to work on Butler project first, it's going to be a few months before he gets over to Bessie, I believe, because looking at the construction duration, it was a couple of months for the
Yes.
a couple
Okay.
of months for west of Fernwood, a couple of months for east of Fernwood Park, and then 4 weeks for Fernwood Park. So I think the schedule roughly was like 4 or 5 months. So he may not get to Bessie until after that 4 or 5 months. But Vashon definitely chime in as well, because you're going to be doing that schedule directly for the construction.
Okay. Question about the staging. Is some of the staging still going to be down at Lake Bessie? And if it is, can we put it so that it is in front of the lot and not so intrusive?
Vacant lot, she means, I assume.
Hey,
Yeah,
John, I know you'd already thought about lay down for both these projects. You want to explain that process a little bit and your thoughts on that?
Yes. And, Nancy, I will work with you on that. But at the end of the day, I want to make sure that it's the most convenient for our contractor, because we do have areas for laydown. And the sooner we can get them in and out, the better it is for all of us. So the more convenient the laydown area is, the better it is for all of us. And
Okay, and you'll be sharing that with us then?
oh, absolutely. Once I get
Okay.
with Sean, and this is early on in the project. Thank God we're doing a pre-con, right?
Yep.
It'll probably be more closer to the boat ramp than it will be anywhere else. And so we'll figure that out, but we do need a laydown yard to make it efficient for our contractor.
Okay, next question. The
Well,
East Boulevard swales.
Nancy, can I
Yes.
interrupt you? real quick? I mean, construction's ugly. It's not going to be fun, and it's not going to. I'm just letting you know we got so many complaints on West 2nd Avenue because of the look, the feel, and digging and
Yeah.
digging and digging. So it's not going to look pretty for quite some time, but once it's complete, we'll make sure that everything is refurbished and looks better than it is right now.
Thank you, appreciate it. The East Boulevard swales, will some of that water be going to the 8th Avenue rainwater and some of it will be going to the 9th Avenue rain garden? Or are they just holding water up high?
How?
So so those swells that we have along are going to be going to both. Some of the water is going to be going to the rain garden to the south, and some of the water is going to be going to the rain garden to the north as well. And then there's a portion of the swell where you'll see like a concrete weir. And so during certain storm events, it will overtop onto that weir. But in general, it would be going to both rain gardens, depending on if you're talking about the south side or the north side of East Avenue.
Okay, and last question. Tanya had mentioned not anything has really changed, and that's true, except for the level of our road has deteriorated. And I just want to make sure that our driveway is going to be usable when this project is over, because right now we can't even get into our driveway.
So I can answer that. Yes. The road has likely been eroding over a period of time. You know, like Tanya mentioned, it's been a process to kind of get approval
Right.
to move forward with construction. So they're going to build the grades based up on the plans, which is where your dirt road was a few years ago. And yes, they're going to be filling in areas as needed to provide you with a smoother slope into your driveway.
Thank you.
Mr. Scott Ross?
Hey everyone, thank you. So how or whoever's in charge of the slides, if you go down to segment 6, I'm at the corner of 3rd and Magnolia, and you can almost see where my question is going to be in one of the pictures. Okay, we can do it from this one, the overhead. So the white dock that you're looking at is ours on the lake. So we're right down by kind of where this drainage is going to be going. What I can't tell from the picture is if you're looking at 3rd, is most of this going to be on the north side or the south side? So our side or the Hartog side? Oh, there we go. Yep, that helps. So this looks like it's
So if you're looking on 3rd Avenue, west of Magnolia, we have swales on both sides, proposed swales on the both sides. And then you can kind of see the line work for the swales in the drawing right there. And east of Magnolia, we're providing a proposed swale on the south side, and that pipes into that spreader swale that you can see, which is kind of that rectangular shape, which
Yep.
is meant to hold some of the water so that it doesn't, it doesn't flush out too quickly like it is right now.
Okay. So my question is, you can't really see because of the trees, but we have a 2-car driveway that's right there. So my concern is that like for like is going to result in a ditch before our driveway. So the property to the north of us has also some drainage, and they have a concrete sort of, little overpass over that with the corrugated metal for the water to flow through. So have you guys put thought into that section right there?
So if you're the property on the south side, east of Magnolia, right? On the kind of the southeast corner right there.
Correct. Yeah, the white boat dock is ours.
Well,
Gotcha.
hey,
Go ahead.
are you the house on the south side or the north side?
Yeah, John, we're on the south side.
Okay.
All right,
Gotcha.
Scott, you're talking about a culvert underneath your apron?
Yeah, well, right now it's just grass, which I don't care. We can just get onto our driveway that way. But if you're talking about building a swale, then it's going to be a swale then to our driveway. So yeah, some sort of solution to that.
I think the intent of this design is to keep everything off the right of way so it doesn't go south to your property and then gets it into that pond that we've shown in the park, if that makes sense. Because I have the same thing working with your neighbor to the north.
Yeah, the Hartogs, yep.
Yeah, the Hartogs. And so that was part of my meeting with them and meeting with you. I think I met you a couple of years ago, just trying to figure this thing out. And so the idea is that anything coming out of those black lines ain't coming into your property anymore. And we're all directing it to the park with an overflow that treats it and then just overflows to the lake treated through
Sure.
conveyance.
No, that makes
So,
complete sense. What I'm
yeah,
wondering is what are the lines? Or if the lines
Sure.
are new swales and ditches, then that's going to be in between the 3rd Avenue and our driveway.
think
I
of it
think
as
he's,
catcher's mitt
I th-
all within the right of way.
well, I
That's-
think he's worried about his access on his driveway apron with those swales.
Yeah, I
Oh,
can-
I
I-
think
So-
the design covers that because that pipe, and how, if you can put your mouse, on that pipe, it's a pipe under your driveway, and then, yeah, right there. And then, allows you access, but yet conveyance beyond your driveway.
Okay, yeah,
So,
that's,
so
That's
if I,
the
if,
idea. That's the intent through that design.
so is it going to be grass over it or concrete? How are you overlaying? Because like for like would mean, something completely different. So what do you guys think will be, what am I driving over to get to my driveway?
Your normal driveway, whether it's concrete or whatever you guys have, you're gonna be coming in your driveway like normal, and there'll be a pipe going underneath it.
Well, no, there's a swale right now that is
Yeah,
on.
yes.
Yeah,
Scott,
but
we'll let Howe answer
sorry.
that, but I mean, again, we need to protect the culvert that's going underneath the driveway. Our intent is to maintain your driveway access in like kind, but if there has to be an amendment to that, we'll work with you on that, to make sure that whatever we're building is stabilized, but you still have access to your driveway. So if, like you go down Lake Butler Boulevard, you see asphalt driveways on top of a culvert. We don't want to make sure it doesn't collapse or anything like that and just completely ruin the integrity of the actual project.
Okay.
But
Yep.
I think it's important if you zoom in, Scott, you'll see where the swale ends just to the west of your driveway. That's where a structure is placed. And then your driveway is maintained, a pipe goes underneath your driveway to the pond. So your driveway will be reestablished, so you still have access.
Okay.
The swale is to the west of your driveway. Does that make sense?
It does. Okay,
Can you
great.
zoom in on that, Hal?
yeah, Tanya's controlling it, but I think that was what I was just gonna add, John and Scott,
Yeah.
is that you see the swale, but the intent is for the swale to end prior to your driveway. And we will slope back up to your driveway and match like in kind material. And the pipe that you see running will be underneath subsurface. So that inlet will capture all of the runoff within that swale on the south side of your driveway, and that it will end before your driveway and will slope up to your driveway so that your driveway won't be in a ditch area. Or a
Great.
swale area.
It's actually on the west side of his driveway.
West side, right, correct.
Yep. Okay. Thanks, guys.
No problem.
Okay, I see that somebody who is noted as iPhone has their hand raised. Could you unmute, identify yourself and ask your question?
Hi, do you think it's me? Does it seem to be me?
Yes, it's you.
All right, good. Hi, Tanya. It's Peter Kaufman.
Hi, Peter. How are you?
Great. Thank you so much for having this meeting. And Gina and I have a lot of trust in the town because of how you've responded for us before. And we have a lot of trust in these experts on the call because it really sounds to me like when the homeowner has an issue and it might be a little bit tricky, you're going to work it out, make sure that you do what you have to do and we get what we need. The person who knows my property, we're at 9th and Oakdale. We're the White House. The 9th and Oakdale is a safe spot for our property. For us, the real threat is just to the west of our driveway on Oakdale. And John will remember, and Tanya will remember, that we were granted permission to build a concrete ribbon in front of our driveway. And then, of course, when you guys tilted 9th Avenue towards the north, we have had no flooding issues. But of course, for anybody on the call who wonders why I sound nervous, it's because we flooded 3 weeks after we moved in, and it was pretty bad. John, you know the property pretty well, and assuming you're still on the call, are you expecting that the concrete ribbon will be removed? Or is that possible that is to the
No, actually,
south?
Peter, that's quite frankly part of the design. because the road pitch and based on our design with how is pretty consistent with the way we graded everything. But what we will have is improvements in the way we flow the water and convey the water through the pipes and everything else. So I think it'll be a huge improvement for you because we're going to be opening up the dike, if you will, beyond your home. So I think it's very consistent with what you and I've talked about, but also very consistent with what we've talked about in the future. Does that make sense?
Do you think that, so you're saying you think that the ribbon will stay?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, that's part of the design to keep that ribbon.
Okay.
And then we're dealing with also the flow down the other side on Oakdale. So part of that design, me working with Howe and Victor and everybody else, was to try and understand what we had in the past and the problems and solving it even better. Because we're not going to be relying on the small infrastructure that we have now. We're going to have the right stuff coming in to take even more water.
Would you expect, John, that the grade of this road, like I kind of got the idea you're crowning the roads and that there's swales on both sides. Is there going to be a swale on the east side of that ribbon? Or are you guys still going to keep the road graded so that everything flows to the water control in front of the White House across the street? The culvert.
Yeah, so basically everything flows to that corner, which would be the northwest corner, but it's going to be infrastructure that can handle it. Right now we have a little crossover of a little corrugated metal pipe that's been in there since 1950. And so all that infrastructure is going to be replaced with what we come back in at 18 to 24 inch concrete pipe and take it to the rain garden.
Okay, I have just one more question. I mean, I probably have 20, but I'm going to only ask one, and then I'm going to concede to other people who probably have their hands raised. Water comes down a pretty steep 9th Avenue from Main Street. Right now, that water, because of the way the road is tilted, never really pools in front of my driveway. It goes all the way to the north side of 9th and again finds its way into the grassy area and then underneath John's driveway across the street. If water is coming down 9th Avenue from Main Street going forward, is it still going to almost immediately head north so it cannot threaten the low side of my house, which you know is like my driveway, my owner side door, and for anybody who wasn't on the call, my entire swimming pool in the backyard got all of 9th Avenue in it.
Yeah, I think.
How could you go ahead maybe and just explain what's going to happen at 9th and Oakdale in that quadrant? Maybe go over that again, little.
But Tanya, for me, excuse me one second, not Tanya, for me, 9th and Oakdale is not my problem. I'm sure it's other people's problem and I feel for them. My issue is the water that comes down from Main Street
Yes,
past
yes,
my driveway.
yes,
Yeah,
yes, the water
okay.
comes down Main Street, and then we pick up at 9th and Oakdale all of the improvements that are going into place. So we'll let Howe explain what's
Okay.
happening from Main up to Oakdale, okay?
Okay, thank you, sorry.
And how it would be helpful if can you put the slide on from Main Street to 9th?
Tanya's
Main
driving
Street
the
to
screen,
Oakdale?
but I can find it.
Yeah, that slide would be helpful for Peter.
Okay, so if we're purely looking at the area along 9th Avenue from Main Street to Oakdale, in that area, we're actually making very minimal improvements because there's already a ditch there to some degree on the north side, it looks like. So basically in this area, I'm looking at the plan sheet that we're doing here, and we're pitching everything to the north where there's some existing swales out there as well, through that area. But we are providing a side drain to convey the runoff across the driveway that's on the north side.
If you continue to pitch the water to the north side, Hal, you will be my hero.
That's our intent.
Although I appreciate it, it's not my intent to be anybody's hero, but we were matching existing drainage patterns to the extent feasible. And so right now, there are existing swales on the north side. So we are kind of cleaning up those swales a little bit, but we're basically matching the existing road profile through there, because through there, the road is relatively flat from a longitudinal standpoint. Like, you don't have the steep drop offs like you do as you get closer to the lake. And so in that area, we're basically just regrading the roadway slightly, and it's going to be pitched to the north because there's existing swale systems to the north. And then we're just going to clean up those swales a little bit. And I hope that helps you.
It absolutely does. Gina is here too, and we both thank you guys. Thank you for answering our questions and for all of your hard work.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
All right, next we have Councilmember Haynes.
Hi. So I just had a couple quick questions. One, I wanted to double check when you guys were talking about the curb facing. Do you mean where it's already existing, starting at the north west corner of Bessie Park and then just going towards, Bessie Street? Or do you mean it's going to have that curb face where those pine trees are being taken out?
Just around the curve. So not where the pine trees are.
Okay, so it's just where it is already. So it's the same kind as pretty much what's there, right?
Correct. We did have to shift the road slightly through that area because of the right of way, but it's going to be generally where it is now with the same type of curving.
Okay. Second question, and I do see comments. Sorry, my daughter's excited in the background with her grandma, but I do see comments about that I wanted to mention this too. That somebody wrote in the chat boxes, which is that we do have a family of wild turkeys living in our neighborhood that have become the neighborhood pets for this kind of corner of town. So I just want to make sure that you guys are aware of that. We're pretty sure that their nest is on the vacant lot between or just north of Nancy Bardot's property. So just be aware of that when you guys are out here for construction, because they are beloved by the whole neighborhood. Everybody watches them and takes pictures. So that's just a side note from an environmental standpoint. And then my other question was, I know that we had talked with Tree Board about, the location of the different swales on Bessie project specifically, and if we needed to, like in the field, squish them a little here and there to avoid as much from the two large oak trees that we have, not damaging the major root system in those. So is that still sort of in the plan? Because I didn't really hear anything mentioned about that.
Hey, Brandy, we'll be doing the same thing on this project that we've done with West 2nd Avenue and other projects, and that is where we need to bring arborists in to do tree protection around some of that work that we're doing. We will be doing that as part of this. That's kind of standard operating procedure for us in Windermere now.
Okay. So will there be fencing up, and if we start to see there's a major problem with a big root, figure something out, basically?
Well, like we did with West 2nd Avenue, we didn't have to bring in a whole bunch of that type of mechanism for ourselves. Otherwise, we'd be doing that all the way up and down the street. But what we did do is we did root pruning and things like that were necessary when we were coming close to trees. So as we move along with this project, we'll do the same thing. We'll call the arborist out. We'll get the best game plan.
And I know you guys are going to come up with, the more specific timeline, but are we looking at, if you guys are saying 4 to 5 months, starting the Bessie side after Christmas? Is that the time frame we're kind of looking at? Because I don't think any of us want the whole road ripped up over Christmas holidays.
Well, as you know, we're going to do our best to work around all of that stuff. We do have a grant that has a time frame, and we have to be done and closed out on the project. But Vishon, are you still here on the call? And I think, your plan is to not disrupt those types of things.
Yeah, that's correct. We understand there'll be a lot of traffic, a lot of people coming to visit during that time of the year between basically between Thanksgiving and the end of the year, and we'll coordinate heavily with the town about the areas that we're going to be impacting, and specifically residential driveways and segments that have a lot of traffic flow on them. So we'll coordinate heavily with the town and provide as much notice to them so they can provide it to the town residents as well.
Okay. And then, I will say this because I know people were talking about the fiber optic, because some of us, that is our livelihood to have internet. So when you guys are going to be working on individual projects, if the residents there know where their wires are, even if it's not where it's flagged, will somebody be able to meet with, I mean, I guess maybe it's Frank Chase, but meet with each resident? Because like, I know exactly where mine is, and we can't work if it's not there. So that would
Yeah,
be
those
pretty
are the
crazy.
types of, those are the types of things that you would approach Mr. Frank Chase about, and
Okay.
John, if he's in the field, and work those things out with them if you know where those types of things are, and you want to be sure that the crews know as well. But yes, Mr. Frank
Yeah.
Chase is the town's project manager, so he's working on our behalf, working with residents and working with the contractor to make this as smooth a process as possible.
Okay. All right. That's all. Thank you.
You're welcome. I am in awe. I do not see any more hands raised, Robert. Oh, nope, one more came. Mr.
Is it my turn? Is that right?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Hey, hey, nice meeting. I want to talk about segment 5. There's a couple of, here's one of the questions. I understand there is no work on Bessie Street between the corner of East, or between 8th and Bessie and 7th and Bessie. Is that correct?
Hal?
So for segment 5, we stop our work at 7th. So there's no work north of 7th. Is that the question?
No, there's no work south of 7th on Bessie Street. Is that correct?
So on the drawing that you see on the screen right now, I believe 7th is on the right-hand side of the screen. Is that correct? Running east-west?
I see the corner. I see, where is 7th?
I think 7th is on the right-hand side, if I'm not mistaken.
There's a big arrow there. Yeah, what work is that? Can you describe the work happening in that segment between the curve of 8th and 7th on Bessie Street?
Yep, so that's the work south of 7th, I believe. And so what's going on with that curve is that we had to shift the road slightly to the south and to the east. You can kind of see that area in the kind of gray shape that says new shell base for pavement materials, because we had to get the road into the existing right-of-way. And so through that area, we're doing a little bit of road adjustment to get into the right-of-way. We are redoing that type F curb and gutter in order to provide the inlets and providing the proper cross slope to drain to those inlets. Once you get past the curve and as you're heading north, it returns to its open system where we just have sodded grass on both sides. And then through that area, it's pretty much maintaining the existing flows through there. And we're also going through, and you see those little areas where it's saying gravel driveway reconstruct to match existing. So through that area, we're regrading the road to primarily drain to the east where it is going now. And then we're just going to harmonize the driveways through there. So the work between the Bessie curve, I'll call it, and 7th Avenue is mainly dirt road regrading and driveway harmonization as part of that dirt road regrading.
But is there curbs added?
There is curbing along the curve only.
That is, okay, so on the north of the curve, that just stays the same and you're just grading. Okay, got it.
Correct. Yep.
So next question. you are demoing the existing piping on 8th Avenue and from 8th Avenue to, I guess, east, where there is a retention pond, and you're putting in a new rain garden. So you're redoing that retention pond area. Is that correct?
That is correct.
So my concern originally was when they last did that, the outfall from the retention area that they have now is higher than the curb on the corner of Bessie and, or yeah, I guess it's Bessie and 8th. So when that retention pond never really got full, it actually outfalled over there on the corner, because as soon as it got high enough, that lower area on the curb. So that'll all be corrected. Is that my assumption? Is that correct?
Yes, and any elevations deficiencies previous to this project will be corrected within that stormwater. I'll call it a stormwater retention area,
Okay.
where we're going to prepare a rain garden. And so what's happening is that curb and gutter system that goes around the curb return, the curve, is going to be piped into the newly graded area over there, regraded area. And so yes, the elevations will work from a drainage standpoint as part of this project.
Okay, so you guys going to pay attention to your surveying and all that, so the water keeps flowing that way. Last time, it just kind of, as soon as that retention area got to a certain point, it spilled out on the corner through the inlet because of the particular grading that was installed. Okay, so that's an answer. Next thing is, I'd like to see the water lines like other people. Thanks, Robert. Keep after it. Please get us a water line down our street. So the other question I have is on the corner of Bessie and 7th. We have a pretty decent set of pipes that shunt water down to the park. But we have grates, flat grates that don't exclude trash. I have seen grate covers that are kind of shaped like a pyramid, that even if there's trash washed over them, they still collect water. Can we go to that type of grate cover on that corner so that when they fill up with trash, they don't wash out the corner?
So at the corner of 7th and Bessie, that's at the northern end of our project, and we connect to 7th Avenue on the south side. So I do see some ditch bottom inlets in the southwest, northwest, and northeast quadrant. Those are existing, and the replacement or adjustment of those is not part of the scope of this project.
Okay, who do I talk to get those grates changed to a rubbish excluding grate, instead of me walking up there with a garden rake and clearing out that grate so my road doesn't get washed out?
We'll take a look at it and review that with the engineers for feasibility.
I believe that could be a retrofit part that you buy and just put over that existing outlet. The impact to the city maintenance people is they would have to get off their tractor and not use their front loader to clear the grate. They would have to get out and actually clear it manually.
Again, yes, you're talking to the Public Works Director for the town, and we will work with the engineers and with my team to see what's feasible, and if it's possible, we'll look into that. Okay.
Keep in mind the trash covering that grate caused a ravine on that corner that my wife drove over, and it cost me $2,000 worth of damage to my car because we dropped into the gutter and it knocked the running board off my car.
Yeah, like I said, we will look into it, and if it's feasible, we will see what we can do.
Please consider that type of rubbish excluding grate anywhere else where they may be blocked by rubbish, and stop during these deluge.
Mr. Collins, yeah, we'll do whatever we can to make sure that we maintain the integrity of the entire system, including any negative impacts that will be to residents. So I appreciate your comments.
So I understand that North Rain Garden is going to replace on East Avenue and 8th is going to replace all of that retention area. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Thank you. Good luck. Looking forward to the work.
Thank you.
I have one more question. This is Council Member Haynes. I just wanted to check too. So I didn't know on Butler project or Bessie project, either one, but since I'm one of the people who's going to have the trees impacted on my property, is this the same, this contractor is the one who's going to replace those trees, or will that be done like later on after the project, the other stuff is complete, or how's that going to work?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that?
Sure. I wanted to check to see when, like, I have trees that are going to be taken out and they're going to get trees replaced. So is it this contractor, Valencia, that's going to be doing that for the trees, or will it be a different contractor after this stuff is completed?
Hey, Brandy, we had talked about the fact that we would work with the tree board and with a contractor that the tree board might wish to have do that work, so that you make sure you get a contractor that you're happy with for the planting and things like that. So I think that's what we were discussing for the tree replacements.
Okay, so that's just like later, and I mean, because it's in the plans here, so that's why I'm asking if it's going to be Valencia or someone else, like, because it didn't sound like there was like an arborist there, so.
Yeah, no, we coordinate with another, arborist like Jennifer or
Okay.
Eric Hoyer on the project separately, so that the arborist works for the town.
Okay, all right, thank you.
I did not see any more hands raised.
Thank you so much, members of the committee and members of the public, for this opportunity.
Okay, so with no hands raised, it looks like we've come to the end of this evening's presentation. I would like to thank the community so much for participating, for coming here and having your questions ready. I hope that this has been helpful to you. Again, we will have another one of these next week. If you've already attended this one, there's no need to attend the second one, as you're going to go through the same material again. I would also like to thank our engineers from Kimley Horn for being here this evening, and for Hal for taking us through the presentation. And also I would like to thank Vashon. I've done this for 25 years, Vashon, and that's one of the best project management contractor presentations I've ever had given to residents. You're very clear, very concise. Thank you, everyone, and have a great evening.
Thank you.
Thanks. Good night, everyone.